Hello, crafty friends. How are you today? Welcome to an episode of Angela Shows You. Today, we are going to work on a tote bag, a fully lined tote bag. These are fantastic for shopping, going to the gym, any errands that you're doing, if you're traveling. These make really great bags just to carry around with you to, throw your camera in or your maybe any little souvenirs or gifts that you pick up for friends and family. These bags, I use these for everything. I use them not only for grocery shopping, any other shopping that I'm doing when I'm going to the Joann's or Michael's or Hobby Lobby and I'm buying fabric. I take them and, they hold quite a bit of the things that I want. Uh, I have friends and family who have bags and they use them, like I said, for travel. They make really great bags. If you're, when you're walking around, you can throw your bottle of water in there, your camera, your phone, a wallet, if you don't want to carry a purse. And the nice thing about a tote bag that you're making yourself is you can choose whatever size is going to suit your needs. I've got bigger bags, I've got smaller bags. The smaller bags I might like when we're on vacation and maybe we're going to the beach and I just want to throw a book and a camera and maybe a snack or something in there. So, it's nice to have a little bit of a smaller bag. And then other times you might want a bigger bag. So the size that you choose to make your bags is going to be totally up to you. One of the standard size bags that I make when I'm selling them at craft shows is 17. I cut the material to be 17 by 17, and that's the size bag that we're actually going to be working on today. So what I've already done is I've cut the bag, the 17 by 17, and I placed the bag right sides together. And you can tell this on this one because the right side is a little bit darker of a really pretty pink with cute little flowers in it. So what I've done is I've taken the two right sides of the bag and I've sewn them together, and I already I cut out the corners so that we have boxed corners already done. So I've sewn the two sides, and then this right here that you see a little shadow, this is my tag. So I've got tags that I put in and they're printed on each side. So when they're folded in half, one side has my business name on it and that it's a limited edition bag. And then the other side says to machine wash and air dry. Most of the tote bags that I make are fine actually to be dried. I also put these on my aprons and they're fine to be machine dried as well. But there are some bags that I make that are best to be air dried. So usually like what I'll just do is on an apron, maybe perhaps I might just tell my customer, you can go ahead and toss that in the dryer, disregard the air dry only. But I didn't, so when I ordered these tags, I actually found them on Amazon and I wasn't, real sure. So I kind of just wanted one tag that was going to maybe go for everything. But I think probably in the future, I will purchase other tags so that I can have one that might just say, like washes normal, that could go on things that are okay to be tossed into the dryer, and then other bags that maybe can go in the dryer but they're best to be air dried, then put those tags on there. So all that being said, I've got my bags cut to the 17 by 17, and I sewed the right sides together on the inside. So the next one step that we need to do is we need to attach our handles. So what I did for the handles was I cut these These are actually about 3.5 inches wide. And then just like any other handle that you're making, you're gonna take your material, you'll fold it in half. I like to give it a press so that I have a seam, and then you take 1/2 and you fold it in, give it a press, take the other half, fold it in. That way you've got your 2 folds in, so that you end up, when you sew it together, you've got a nice crease with no raw edges showing. And then, so you fold and then fold in, give them a press, and then take that and fold that back in half. That gives you your nice edges that have no raw edges showing. And then you sew all the way down. Rather than lift up and all that, I sew all the way down, and then I sew here, and then I sew all the way up the other side, and I sew back stitch at the beginning and the end to lock those stitches into place. It doesn't matter on this bag in particular that the edges are raw, because they're going to be in, so you're not going to see any. If you were going to have your straps on the outside of the bag, you would definitely want to finish these off, and we'll do that in another episode in the future. So right for now, I started sewing this together, the 2 right sides together, and then I remembered that the handles needed to be attached. So this is only large looking because I almost forgot to attach the handles. So what we're going to do is, you want to kind of figure out where do you want your handles put together. Because this bag is 17 inches, I actually tend to kind of go in from the sides about 4.5 to 5 inches. So from our edge, I just take a ruler and I'm going to go in 4.5, and I'm going to take the raw edge and I'm going to line it up with the raw edge with the top of the bag. So I got 4.5. I'm going to take these 2 raw edges and I'm going to pin it. And then on the other end, I'm going to come in 4.5 from the edge. Be careful that you don't twist the handle. And we're going to do 4.5, and we're going to give that a pin. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. We're going to come in. Making sure that we don't twist that strap. All right, so now we've got both of our handles pinned. So the raw edge of the handle, the strap, is on the top of the bag on the right side. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to sew. It's not as bulky if you don't already start sewing it together. So we're just going to, don't forget to back stitch. And I actually kind of go back and forth just a little bit on the handles, because you got to figure, the handles are going to be taking a lot of weight on the bag. So you want them to be nice and sturdy, so it doesn't hurt to give the handles a little extra care. Okay, so we've got that side done. last. Okay. So we've got our handles on our bag all sewn in, and what I did is I went forward a couple stitches, back stitch, lock that in, went all the way to the other side, the other edge of the handle. I back stitched the entire width of the handle and then went back. So I really got, this has a nice strong hold on it, and I did that for all four. So now what you'll do is you'll take your right sides together, and then see we've got them lined up real nice on here, and you're going to sew you're going to sew all around the edges. I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, and then the last side we've got going on here. Okay, so we've got all three sides sewn together, right sides together. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to take your corners and you're going to give them a pinch together, and you'll have your seams. So what I actually like to do, a couple different options that you have doing the seams. You can either open them up so that everything lays flat. You can open them up like this on each side, or what I like to actually do is take one side, fold it, kind of let it lay one way, take the other side, let it lay the other way, and then you're just gonna sew this closed. Alrighty, there's one side. Do the same thing for the other side. All right, so there we go. We've got our boxed corners all taken care of. So this is the exterior of the bag. We want to just make sure, we want to leave the handles tucked in. So now our next step is going to be to do the same thing for the interior of the bag. We've got it sewn together. So what we want to do is we want to take our corners. We want to get these pinched together. So I've got one of my seams pointed one way, the other side pointed the other way. This makes it lay nice and flat. Or, like I mentioned, you can open up the seams, both of them, and lay them flat that way. Either way. And I've cut, when I did the corners, when I cut them out, I cut them 2 inches. I'll show you. So one thing that you're going to want to keep in mind, you can cut your corners out however, whatever size you want. If you want the bag to be like larger inside, you could cut 2.5, you could cut 3. The one thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is however large you cut those corners out is going to decrease the height of the bag, because you're taking from the height and you're making the width of the inside of the bag wider. All right, so focus on the machine, not my head. And by cutting, so I cut 2.5 or 2 out of the material, so the bag is actually 4 inches. Because remember, you're cutting off one side, but you're getting for the entire bag. Okay, so we've got the interior of our bag. We've got those corners. So this is, so when you've got your material, okay, so you got your material. Pretend that this isn't already cut out. You've got your material. And you have your whatever size it is that you're cutting it. So like I said, this is 17 by 17. So what you want to do is, I purchased a ruler like this. And I bought this at Joann's, but they sell them all different places. And this is a 2.5-inch ruler, and you can see it's got a 1 and a 2 inch, and then all the way to the edge. They have multiple different sizes, so depending on what it is that you're doing. I really like this ruler because it's, you know, smaller and it's a square and it's nice to line up. So like what you would do is you're gonna take your corner of your bag, and whatever size you want it, you're just gonna go ahead and you're gonna line up, and you'll do your markings. So if I wanted the whole 2.5, all I would do is line it up right here. I would just draw a line here and a line here with whatever kind of pen you want. If you want to use a fabric pen, if you want to use one that washes away or wipes away, or you can use just a regular pen, because you're cutting this out, so you're not going to see the pen marks. And you can do it on the wrong side of the fabric as well, if you're concerned about any ink mark, you know, being left behind or whatever. You can always do it on the inside as well. So you're just going to figure out how deep do you want your bag to be when it's open and you're looking into it. So I generally choose 2 inches. So you have 2 options to do if you were going to do 2 inches. You can either line it a half inch off of the edge of the fabric and draw your 2-inch, and then you would move it up the half inch and draw your other line. Or you could take it down just a hair onto the fabric, draw a line, like give yourself a little starter line right here at the 2-inch mark, and then go ahead and move it, draw your line, and then do the same thing. So a couple different options as far as making your draw lines, but these are really nice because if you're doing the whole 2.5, all you would have to do is pop it on the corner and draw your lines, move it over to the other side, and do the same thing. But I tend to do 2 inches, but if you did a 2.5, when you look inside the bag, you would have a 5-inch interior of the bag. Like I said earlier, just keep in mind, however deep your bag is going to be is going to reduce the height of the bag, because you've cut out, you're using some of the height to make the bottom of the bag. So just a little something to keep in mind when you are figuring out. So if you want a bag that's 4 or 5 inches deep, but you also want height, you would maybe want to cut it 18 or 19 inches tall, or, you know, even 20. I mean, it really depends on how tall do you want your bag to be. And then, you know, again, how wide do you want your bag to be? I would recommend that if you're cutting your bag like bigger, that you might also want to consider making the straps wider as well. And I would definitely, if you're making a bigger bag because you want it to hold more and it's going to be heavier, I would make the straps a little bit wider and or longer as well. And then you definitely would want to make sure, as you're sewing those straps on, to go back and forth with your stitching and really reinforce that, because those, if you're going to be carrying something that's heavier in it, those straps are going to have stress on them. So you want to make sure that they're really secure when you're sewing them in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to take the lining of the bag and we're going to turn the lining right side out. I like to just go ahead and give the corners a little bit of a push. All right, so now we've got the lining of our bag. What we're going to do now is we are going to take the lining of the bag and we are going to insert the lining inside the bag. And then you're going to take the sides of the bag and you are going to line up the sides. Okay, so we're going to line up the sides on both sides. All right, now what we're also going to want to do is you can pin or clip. I actually, when I'm doing the top of the bag like this, I do like to use the Wonder Clips. So now what you want to do is you've got your right sides together. You've got the inside, you've got the lining of the bag inside the bag. I'm going to, again, take my two sides and I'm going to put one seam one way, one seam the other way, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a clip right there. And then I'm going to line up the other side of the bag the exact same way. Line up those two side seams. I'm going to push one side to one left and one side right, take a Wonder Clip, clip it. Now you can put a couple more clips randomly just to hold all of your everything in place. Okay. Lining up the edges on the top. All right, now, there we go. So now we've got the inside, the lining of the bag. We turned that right side out. So now we've got lining and exterior of the bag facing right sides together. So now what we're going to do is we are going to sew around the top, except, this is very important, either mark yourself, either take a pen and mark it, or pins or clips or something, or just keep in mind, you're going to want to leave a turn gap. We didn't leave any turn gap on the lining of the bag because this is a nice way to the top of the bag, because we're going to top, after this is turned right side out, we're going to top stitch. So this way the lining of the bag doesn't have any turn gap. You know, you're not closing from the bottom of the lining of the bag or the side of the lining of the bag. This is going to completely conceal where you've turned right sides out. So it's very important that you leave yourself room, a couple inches at least. So what I actually like to do is I'll go ahead and start kind of at one of the straps, and then I'll go all the way around and I'll stop at the other strap. That way I've got that space in between the two straps will be my turn out section. So what we're going to do is we're going to start sewing. Again, I'm using about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Don't forget to go back, lock that in place. Okay, so now we've made our way all the way around, so we're almost at where we need to stop. Go back, lock those in place. All right, so now we've got our interior and our exterior of the bag sewn. So now we've got our turn gap. You're going to go right ahead and we are going to push everything through. Give it a little bit of a shake. Go in and once more, kind of give your corners there a little push. Okay, so now we've got this going on. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of open it up and we're going to tuck the inside in. So then see, that's what I mean about the straps. So now the straps are, you don't have any raw edges showing. Okay. So you just want to kind of, you know, work it a little bit. You're going to have to work the inside in. All right, so now might be another opportunity. You can go ahead and clip, you know, if you want, you can put clips down. We're going to skip the our turning spot for a moment. You know, just a few clips in some random places just to keep the interior of the bag where it belongs. All right, so we've got a couple clips holding that in place. So now we've got our turn spot. So what you're going to just want to do, so we've got, you know, a little bit going on here. So what you're going to do is you'll just kind of fold your fabric in just a little bit. And you can, you know, you might have to play around with it just a little bit. But what you're going to do is you're going to turn, just kind of give it a turn. Now, if you want to, this might be a good opportunity to like give this a press so it's nice and crisp. Okay, but now we've turned it so you won't even be able to tell. Now I'm actually going to make sure to clip this because we do want this to kind of, you know, we want this to stay doing what we want it to do. We want it to stay turned inwards. And if you press this, you know, it behaves itself for you a little bit longer. Okay, so there we go. We've got our bag now. And now the last thing to do is going to be to go around and top stitch all the way around, and then the bag is done. So you don't want to go, you're not going to want to go too far down from here because you want this to be closed. Got a couple options. You could start a little bit closer, you know, to the edge here, and then kind of, you know, you could gradually shift your thread down a little bit, or you can just go around like close to the edge. Another nice option might be to do 2 stitches all the way around the top of the bag. Do one close and then come in again and go all the way down, you know, a little bit farther. Maybe you want a 1/2 inch going all the way down. That gives it another option, a nice finished look. So, but that's it. Very easy and very functional, very practical, and very customizable. You can make these any size that you want, as big or as you know, as tall, as wide. You could, you know, do whatever you want with the straps. If you want pockets on the inside or the outside, you could go ahead and add a pocket as well. Just keep in mind, if you're doing a pocket, sew the pocket on before you, so you would take whatever, if you're going to put a pocket on the outside, you're going to, before you do anything, put your pocket where you want it, sew your pocket on, then if you're doing it on the outside, don't forget the straps, the handles, and then after the pocket's put on, then sew it together, 2 right sides together. That way, you don't have none of the stitching will show. If you're going to do the pocket on the inside, same thing. Sew your pocket on, then sew the 2 right sides together, and take it from there. So I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed to Angela Shows You, I hope that you'll consider subscribing so that you don't miss any future content. Thank you and happy sewing.